Hello, this is Warpath 1985 speaking today's video session review. I should be discussing the Star Wars The Vintage Collection, Admiral Ackbar, Nien Nunb, and Empire Strikes Back, or more or less Bespin Landon Calrissian. Now, the reason I'm talking about the Bespin version instead of the General Lando, it was General Lando, yes, General Lando, that was released earlier in the TVC line. Also, it was re-released in 2.0 version, which is we're currently in right now, or technically the 3.0 version, and also the Black Series version. And the reason why is that I don't particularly like that version of Lando. My major problem with it is that the cape is very cheap, the figure's face is very hideous, and also has pretty bad articulation, even though the two figures in this general review set are also pretty funky, especially to describe it. And if you're curious what this noise in the background, that's my fan, because yes, it is still quite toasty here in the, not necessarily Southern California, but kind of technically Southern California. But whatever. The point is that I should talk about first the earliest figure in this little set, Ackbar, who is simply a release of the OG TVC figure / Black Series figure with the new face printing technology. And you can also just tell that with how the decal is a lot more crisp and not less paint sprayed, and etc. It's very much just the same figure as that. So if you have that figure, you're not be missing on anything other than just the face printing being a lot more almost the face print, and then other like paint apps being a lot more crisp. Essentially, it does come with our this little, I forget what it's called, but it's equivalent of like a swagger staff, but also is technically a blaster, I believe, in the cartoons and comics. I can't remember, but I definitely assume this was just a swagger stick, because there are like some weapons or Montgomery weapons that look very similar to it, but not necessarily serve the same purpose. You also have the control panel of his little chair that usually is in Return of the Jedi, and also technically The Last Jedi, which is also his final appearance, because apparently they want to really get rid of the virtual characters, which is one of many faults of Last Jedi. I also think The Last Jedi is still pretty decent. That's mostly just because I like the designs of the vehicles and other things in that movie, even though it's quite flawed. Similar to my love for the Book of Boba Fett, because I like the Book of Boba Fett, but it's quite flawed. But besides that small little tangent, the figure itself has very limited circulation, since it mostly has the not necessarily saga articulation, but technically is the saga type of articulation, or more the 30th anniversary type of articulation scheme. But other than that, it's still pretty decent, because it just serves the general purpose of this figure being sitting in a seat. Even though we never got a Montgomery ship deck, even though we really should, because if Lego can do it, so can Hasbro. And then those figures like 10 plus years old now, but whatever. It has a ball joint at the head, has swivel knees, a decent band at the knees, swivel waist, some decent ankle articulation, but it is limited. Actually, I don't think it has any ankle articulation. Maybe it does, and it's just very much limited because of the molding. I don't know. He has some wrist swivels, hinged arms, almost elbows, and hinged shoulders. So it's very limited, but of course, as Ackbar, you're not going to do that much for the figure. This was just standing there giving orders to your Rebel Fleet troopers, and also various colonels and admirals, etc., and generals as well. you have all the other various characters from Return of the Jedi, which I do, which is Nien Nunb. But I should talk about Landon Calrissian because he was the second figure released in this general set. Well, not this general set, but more just the release order of all these figures. So Landon Calrissian is very unique in the sense that I think this is universally agreed the best Landon Calrissian figure we have for. Can you just stand? For 1/18th and also technically 50.75-inch scale. Problem is with figure is that it just shelf worn to eternity. And it's probably the big reason why I won't see a general Lando or any Landon Calrissian figure that matter for like a while. And the worst part is that even though this figure was released, I believe back in 2020/2021, it doesn't have a 2020 articulation scheme where it has the hinged, more or less the ankle rockers that was introduced with the R2 Reserve servo, which is super weird. But besides that, the figure just has your standard 2016 articulation scheme. Besides that, because of Bunzel's accessories first, because it only has like two, similar to Ackbar. He has the cape, which is very nice. It's also made of very high quality fabric. A small little blaster here, which is, although visually very similar to the Imperial Fleet Troopers, it is very, very different. If I can show you Captain Antilles, it is ever so slightly larger and has a lot more defined details and also dry brushing. So yeah, it's a super cool accessory since it obviously reminds me of the Battlefront 2 because this was primary weapon in that game, was the 2017 version. And because of that, I absolutely love this figure. For that, I should set the accessory side because we articulation segment for this figure. He has a dumbbell joint at the neck, a nice waist articulation, but is limited due to the molding of the waist of the figure. Has hinged shoulders, hinged elbows, which go over at 90 degrees, just slightly over, just ever so slightly. Hinged, if I can get this correctly, hinged wrist, has the hinged, not necessarily legs, but just general leg articulation. It's somewhat limited because they're still the hinged legs from 2016. A calf cut. Very, very nice bend at the knee. And swivel and hinged ankles. So it is somewhat flawed because it has that older 2016 articulation, but ultimately it still serves the figure's purpose of, well, being Landon Calrissian. The third figure that was released in this little set, more or less in figure release order, is Nien Nunb, who is quite interesting since this figure, I want to say, is both really, really good visually, but has probably the most ancient articulation. Because it's very similar to Ackbar, where it's extraordinarily limited. And also this figure, I believe, is a re-release of a older version of Nien Nunb. But it is in general, it is still a pretty good figure, since similar to Ackbar, he's only be seen like sitting down on either the cockpits or control, or the bridges of first ships and X-Wings, etc. Or cockpits at X-Wings, etc. So yeah, it's pretty cool. They actually got re-released in the 2.0 series. Or at least the Return of the Jedi TVC sub-series. So he has a re-release little blaster here, which I believe first came with his Power of the Jedi figure, if I'm not mistaken. The same as pistol, which obviously you can use with at home, more or less. You can put in his figure's hands, which are very, very tiny, and so is the figure itself. The articulation of the figure is very limited, obviously, because it is a much older figure. Has a ball joint at the neck, but is very limited due to the mold of the figure, or was the sculpting. Has very simple hinge elbows, not elbows for shoulders. Very simple hinged elbows, swivel wrist, a swivel waist joint. Has a decent kick, both forward and back, but can only go like one way since it's once again an older figure. Pretty decent bends at the knee. Also uses a swivel so you can turn around, and pretty decent bends at the ankle, and it's also like a swivel, but it's shorter and limited because the I forget what it's called. It's not necessarily boot covers, but it's called something else, which I just it escapes me what it's called. But in general, the figure's pretty good. It was just decent. Now, I do recommend these figures since they are really, really good, but also really cheap. Especially Landon, since he shelf form like a lot, and thusly on the aftermarket he's dirt cheap, basically. So it goes for Ackbar and Nien Nunb, who are not necessarily they shelf form, but just more or less that since they're simply just re-releases with much better paint apps, they don't really like. It doesn't really matter which figure you really get. I much prefer the modern TVC version because the better paint apps just usually make it a lot more better, especially in Nien Nunb since the various paint apps and dry brushing details give off like a very nice like shadow to general figure's face. It just looks just very, very visually nice and crisp, etc. The problem with these figures is that since they're released with Wars was their gift to much more older articulation, they can't really get into that much decent action poses. Especially for Landon and technically Nien Nunb, since if you want to like go for the Battlefront 1 2015 style of Nien Nunb, where it's a lot more action oriented instead of the one we see usually in movies and media. And also switching the Landon since without those like angle rockers that are introduced at the same time when he was released, he is not that very well articulated, and thusly kind of serves for that. And Ackbar especially, since although yes, he has similar articulation to Nien Nunb, the problem was that Ackbar's little skirt, whatever, skirt piece does hinder his articulation a lot. However, two out of these three figures also are technically kind of useless. Landon obviously goes with the various Bespin playsets and also your Bespin figures. Nien Nunb goes with your general Landon and all the Flaming Falcon figure sets and shenanigans, whatever. However, Ackbar is only one out of this general, all of these three figures that doesn't really have anywhere to go, since we never even got like a Montgomery bridge or even like a war room, whatever, which is shocking to this very day. Even though we have all these other playsets like the hallway, the 10th floor hallway, the Navarro playset, etc., etc. Which I understand why they haven't redone it yet, since those playsets shelf formed a lot since they're quite expensive, or more or less they're sold at a very high price point. At least make one, Hasbro. Like, I understand why you had to pick the Cantina, because, you know, it's a pretty popular scene from New Hope, but at least give us something that's a lot more interesting, like the War Room in the Return of Jedi, or the bridge of the Home 1, or where Ackbar was at. And you might give us, like, I don't know, updated version of Ackbar since this figure is quite old, to be honest. Other than that, I recommend all these figures, besides all the bridge points I brought up. And P.S., if you're curious why I was gone for a bit, I was tired because I did not realize I was had to do so much stuff over the week. Sorry, this video is also quite late in the sense that it will be released much later than I expected. But other than that, at least I get to give you an update and a pretty decent review since I still have like a bunch of other stuff to deal with over the week, which sucks, but hey, that's life. But other than that, that's all for this review. Like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you next time.